Welcome back. I am Fabrizio Santini. We knew each other in the lesson part 1 that I have already recorded. And I'm here today with you to speak about waste and mobility in the tourism sector, to give some information about data, facts and figures, main problems, and some suggestion for solution, some best practice. In this slide, you can see what we have already spoke about in the lesson number 1. I was introducing myself. I'm an expert in sustainable tourism. I was trying to show you that water, waste, energy, and mobility are problem interconnected. One of them is connected with the other in a complex system, and that's when we speak about coping with those problems and challenges in the tourism sector, we have, first of all, to involve and engage the community, local community, public administration, municipalities, province, region, to organize an efficient system of waste management, water management, energy reduction, and production from renewable energy, and sharing mobility. And when this is made for the people living in a place, we have to take also into account which are the challenges that are made by the arrivals of tourists in this area. I was already speaking with you about my data rooms. So where do I take the information I'm giving to you? I will have another slide today giving some websites link to go deeper in some of the topic we will speak about if you are interested to have more information. So as you see in the lesson number 1, today we will speak about energy, we will speak about mobility, and I will try to give you a very short overview to some certification of destination that take into account energy, mobility, waste, and water management. So we start speaking about energy, and I'm starting showing to you those two new kind of energy from renewable sources that adopt new technologies. On your right, you see a floating photovoltaic module that is used in basin, small basin that also avoid the evaporation. And we were speaking last time how important are small lake and small basin to help agriculture and to work on the topic of water. These, as you see, can be a good interaction between the two technologies. On the left side of the slide, you see a plant that is producing energy through the waves of the sea. This is near Sicily in Italy. It's well used, and so this shows that a small plant can produce enough energy to help little villages that are on the coast. Speaking about energy, comes to our mind renewable energy, photovoltaics, fields, windmills. There is a great debate about, because installing many windmills and subtracting agricultural fields to make photovoltaic fields, to many grassroots association, to many environmentalists, it seems to be against the protection of the value of the landscape. On the left side of this slide, you can find a solution. So sometimes the solution is right in the middle. It's not yes or not solar panel, yes or not windmills, but where do we put them? In small places for self-production, which is better, or in big concentrated fields that sometimes create problems to the landscape. We have also to say that anyhow, a windmill factory has a minor impact in comparison with the traditional coal or thermal energy plant production. Those are two, again, example of new technologies that can be useful to produce energy from renewable sources. On the right side up, there is a new small windmill that is very good to produce energy just for a house, for a bed and breakfast, for a little farm. And so it's not so much impacting, and it's producing energy sometimes in connection with photovoltaic. Last time I was telling to you how important it is to take into account the innovation when we speak about facing new challenges regarding the environment. So in the left side of this slide, you have an old model of an hydro pump called Idropompa Vivarelli that was made by a factory, by a little plant in the province of Grosseto in Maremma in the south of Tuscany, that now with a kind of revamping, not only it's a wind pump, but it produces also a bit of energy useful to charge some tool that you use in agriculture, and that are like a chainsaw or like something to cut the grass, because now also some tractor, electric tractor, because today we are moving also in the agricultural sector from traditional fossil fuels to electricity power. So another important thing connected to energy and energy sparing, because energy is not only electricity, energy also it's heat or cool. So cooling our buildings, residential buildings, in this period in which the summer are every year hotter than the year before, it creates a great amount needs of energy. So how we can resolve this problem? We can resolve the problem. That's an example that are making in Copenhagen, in Hamburg, in Malmö, in Sweden, but also in some part in North Italy. They are starting now also in South Italy. They are called green roofs. I mean, there was a kind of buildings made in the 70s and 80s with a flat roof and a black pellicule to avoid the infiltration of rain. This startup, this new young business, it's putting on the top of the roof this little stripe of earth with some herbs and vegetables, and they avoid noise, they filter the water, they reduce the heat and the cool about 4 degrees. And they are also more beautiful to see from the top. So insulate our buildings and the buildings in which we made our bed and breakfast, our apartment, our hotel, our restaurant. It is important, and it is important to communicate our attention to our customers. There are many, many debates about renewable energies, and I will not go deeper in this argument, but just I tell you that for the Italian people among you which is interested, there's an Italian website. There is an Italian website that can give you some information debunking some of the myth, we can say, about renewable energy. They cost too much, they ruin the landscape, and this is just an example. Up to date in Italy, as you see, there are more photovoltaic plants on the roofs than on the ground. So this is better, much better for the landscape, which is connected with tourism, because many tourists go in places because they have a special landscape. Think to Tuscany, think to Umbria, think to Rome, think to many places that have a special environment. We had some information about the emission and the burden sharing of the emissions in the last lesson, the lesson number 1. We said that in 2023, we were reaching the 37.4 billions of CO2 equivalent emission in the world. This is the burden sharing. You see that China is over coming US, and so we have things to do. We know that every summer is attested as appointed as the hottest summer of the century. We know up to date, I don't want to go deeper in these arguments. We already said last time that the augmentation, as you see the black line of the average temperature of the Earth, is connected with the CO2 equivalent emission from human activities. So I will put you in those slides some other slide in which, if you want, you can click and go to those website where there are some animation that connects the augmentation of the temperature with the emission of greenhouse gases, mainly CO2, to see if the two phenomena, I mean, emission of greenhouse gas and rising of the temperature, are connected, and more than the 90% of the scientists agree that there is this connection. But the rising of the CO2 emission, as you see in the last centuries, also this website is quite interesting. You can click and see from the 18th century until today how was the emission. But let's go deep, not only in the countries that emit more around the world, but a little bit deeper in how is the different percentage of repartition of the emissions in the main sector of the human activities. And as we said in the lesson number 1 last time, we can see that tourism is connected with industry, is connected with electricity production, is connected to agriculture and land use. Think about building, and waste management is connected with transportation, and it is connected with buildings. We will see now slides that give more information about which is the share of the energy of the world that it is absorbed, it is used by the touristic sector. And it is 6.5%. You see it quite high. As last time, I go very fast in those slides, then you can stop if you want the video and have a look better. Anyhow, here there is a kind of list of what does it mean, all those colors. So direct hydrocarbons consumption, or indirect, I mean in the value chain, domestic or international. And as all the charts that we saw until now, there is a rising of the consumption of the emission, in this case, in the decade 2010-2019, a strong decreasing in the 2020 and 21. So 2020, the pandemic year, and 2021, the half pandemic or post-pandemic year. And again, the emissions are rising up, but not reaching the level of 2019. We already said last time in the other lesson, having more or quite the same number of tourists, so this reduction of emission, it is connected to sustainable renewable energy plants, new plants, and more efficiency in all the buildings and processes. So as every time, we saw some data, we saw some problem, which can be what can be some suggestion, what we can do if we are managing a touristic a destination sustainable touristic destination. Be aware in the destination, so the hotel, the offices, the all what is connected in the chain of the tourist, which is their consumption, reduce this consumption, and try to take as more as possible energy from local and renewable plants. Also, give information to the customers, push them to find information somewhere. Be aware of which is the energetics mix that we are using. Is total renewable, is half renewable or not? Which is the company where we are buying our energy as a touristic business, for example. And when we give certification, push the touristic business to pay attention to those aspects. As a customer, use electricity, but also as an owner of a hotel, of a structure, better than fossil fuel. If you have to buy a chainsaw, for example, or a machine to cut the grass, buy it with batteries and electricity and possibly produce your energy. Buy tools, lights, structure that have a high efficiency, because the high efficiency reduce the consumption of electricity. There are a lot of projects by public administration that they put now in the public lighting LED lights instead of the old bulb lights, and they reduce up to 75% the energy consumption, so also the money that they spend, and they reduce the light pollution, which is another thing connected with tourism, because in many protected areas or touristic destination, now there is a niche of tourists that goes to see the dark sky, to observe the sky, for example, in Tenerife, for example, between the province of Grosseto and Siena, for example, in Sardinia, for example, in central Germany on the Alps, because there are places where you can see better the sky, the stars, the planets, and where there is no light pollution, which in big cities is very high.